Teaching CVC words doesn't have to be complicated, and I'm going to be showing you a simple routine that can have a really big impact. I'm Amy, the founder of Omniea Education, and in this video, I'm sharing with you why mastering CVC words is critical for early readers. So CVC words are consonant, vowel, consonant words. For example, words like cat, bed, mat, hat, and so on. And these words are great for beginning readers because they follow those phonetic patterns and they're great words to work on decoding with. So they're really essential for those beginning reader skills, building up that confidence in reading, and really practicing breaking down those words into those three individual sounds for a consonant, vowel, and consonant. CVC words can help children understand how their sounds connect to letters in print. It's also a really great entry point for beginning to work on those beginning reading skills, those decoding skills, and blending sounds together. And CVC words are serving as the foundation for developing more complex word structure skills. So here's a really quick and easy routine to practice those CVC words. And the first part is all based on sounds. So for example, let's take the word mat. What we want to do with the child is first walk through those individual sounds that we're hearing, so that phonemic awareness can already happen just by listening to sounds before we put print in front of them. So for example, we're going to listen to those sounds and they can try and identify those sounds, at. So listening aloud to the sounds that they're hearing in the word before we introduce the print. And in this phonemic awareness stage, you can totally use alkaline boxes, finger tapping, any motions or anything to help them break apart those three individual sounds orally before we're connecting with print. So this next step then is blend and read. So we want to actually show them now the printed word and show them those different letters and connect that to the sounds. So for example, we want to go along each letter and tap out each letter and its sound. So for example, at, at, mat. So we can go through and you can use different types of blending strategies, whatever works best for your child that you're working with. But we really want to show that connection between each letter and sound, and then blending it together. You can also draw little dots on the bottom of each letter, and then you can draw an arrow across if they need that extra visual, but using their fingers is a really great strategy to help blend those sounds. At, mat, and working through those different blending techniques. The third part is write and say, where you can dictate some CVC words, especially ones that they are feeling confident with the individual letter sounds within those words, and they can write them down. So you can say mat. Maybe you keep going with the at family and give them words like cat, sat, and they can practice writing down those words and practice changing some of those initial sounds to create new CVC words. And this really reinforces that sound letter mapping. The next stage, you can do this if you are feeling confident with your child and they have practiced this before. You can introduce it to them, is working on word chains. So with that, what we're doing is we're giving them one word and then we're changing one of the sounds to create a new word. So for example, if we started with cat, then we can ask them, what sound should you change to make cap? And then they would change the ending sound from a T to a P. And then you can do it again and keep going and changing the middle, the beginning parts of words, and so on. And that's called a word chain. This is a phonemic awareness skill that can be done orally, but you can also do this in print as well to focus on that phonemic flexibility and working with different letters and different sounds in the words. Then the last part that we want to do is read in context. Whether that's reading a few words all together, whether that's reading a short sentence, whether it's reading a little passage, we always want to make sure that everything in the text that they're reading, whether it's just one sentence or a small passage or a decodable book, we want to make sure it's only using the sounds that they have already been taught. And so if this case that they're working through just CVC words, we want to make sure that it's all just CVC words in the passage and not having any digraphs or blends or other complex spelling patterns. So overall, we want to keep this practice short and sweet, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes daily, that's great. We want to keep it short so that they stay engaged. We want to make sure we're using some visuals, whether it's working with the whiteboard, whether it's working with a blending board, alkaline boxes. You can grab my free template in the caption. You're welcome to download that for free. So working with some materials and tools, whether it's little manipulatives or anything that kind of gets it hands-on, visual is also really great. We also want to praise their effort, of course, and try and correct the process, not always correcting the answers. Of course, do that when it's necessary, but trying to correct their process and make sure they're following those steps properly, make sure they're blending properly, make sure they're sounding out all of the individual letter sounds correctly. We want to focus on that process and correct where we see fit at that time. And you don't have to rush to harder or more complex spelling patterns. Mastery first. We want to build up that strong foundation before moving on to the next concept. So if you found this video helpful, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. And as I shared, if you want to download my free copy of my Elkin and Boxes templates, you can grab a copy in my caption below. See you next time.